What's going on, everybody? Welcome to NFL Week 2, the show. It is Shark Waters Nation. It is Guns Picks, the Gun and the Shark. We are here. We are now. It is September 19th, 2021. A Gridiron special. Jay Money is Money will be back next week hosting us, and Lock Bets as well. A competitor, a soul, a spirit, and a dominator. Welcome to the chat. We're going to drop top 4 picks of each of us, the competition consensus plays, and we are ready to fire. Guns, how are you feeling on this suddenly not so casual 7-point Sunday?
Let me tell you what, we had an absolutely electric Saturday. I was hitting all my 2-unit plays. Now we're going into NFL Football Sunday, Week 2. This is called Overreactions, Underreactions Week. So be careful out there. Don't overreact to what happened in Week 1. Move into Week 2. Maybe the exact opposite happens, but I'm ready. So let's go.
And before I go into my plays, I want to just shout out our sponsor, Cappers Collective. Follow them on Twitter for the greatest information about the capping sphere, what the sharps are doing, what the fish are doing. Are the fish hot or are the sharps being sharp? And we want to go straight business. I'm going to drop my top play. We're going straight to the streets of Chicago, the Windy City. We're going to the visitors' locker room. Cincinnati Bengals come in here on a plus 1.5 figure. It is my top play of the day. This is very specific to what we looked at last year. Of course, we are in week 2, so we don't have a lot of information in this particular campaign. But if you go back to last year, Cincinnati specifically outside of the division, very, very good against the spread. 2-1 against the figure, but that one loss is very contaminated. It was a week 9 or 10 matchup in Washington in which Joe Burrow got hurt at halftime on a plus 1.5 figure. Cincinnati was up 9-7 at that point in time. He went out. Of course, they did lose the game pretty emphatically 20-9, but that is not correlated to Joe Burrow in his second campaign coming in here on the road. I give you last year, week 2 at Philly, 23-20, a tie, and yes, a cover on a plus 5.5. And at Indianapolis, a 31-27 outright loss, but an ATS cover on a plus 7.5. They were up the whole game, and they melted it late. Poor in the division last year, blowouts at Pittsburgh and Baltimore, a lucky cover at Cleveland. However, this is outside the division. Bears are overrated and misgraded by books. Cincinnati plus 1.5 play of the day. Guns, your top.
So my top play, I am going with the Carolina Panthers playing at home, dog, plus 3.5. Let me tell you why. I mean, I think it's an overreaction to what the Saints did last week. They beat the crap out of the Packers at a neutral field, 38-3. I think they're going to come back here, going on the road, playing a Panthers team that played relatively well versus the Jets. If you actually watch that game, I think they played a little bit flat towards the end of the game. I think with Sam Darnold in that offense, I think it's going to work out fine. I think there's going to be growing pains as we go along, but the maturity level is going to be fine here. And I think they're going to actually come out, play well versus the Saints team. And quite frankly, I like them at 3 and a hook here. So that's my top play for today. I love the Panthers. All day.
Yeah, I could not disagree with you there. If you actually look back on last season, the final game of the regular season, week 17, of course, there are 18 this year, 17 last year. 33-7 New Orleans, a divisional game, second one of the year. New Orleans did clean them up twice last year. You get a double revenge game. You get a great little buy spot, and the line is scaling against. New Orleans did lay -6 there. They lay -3.5 here. I always say in the NBA, I say in every sport, when you win the game by 26 on a -6 and the line comes below the previous average, they're telling you this is going to be a lot closer game. Totally different environment this year. Can Jameis Winston back up a massive week 1 performance in Jacksonville against what was a really uninspired, hapless Green Bay team? My second play, we are going back to Ohio. Seems to be Ohio buy spot today. Cleveland -12.5 within the competition. It is 13 now. Again, we look at the splits here. Cleveland last year was 4-1 ATS outside of the division at home. I talk about it all the time. The divisional versus outside division spots make a huge difference. I'm not telling you anything crazy, but they do play each other twice a year in the division. They're grudge match games. The dynamics are much different in terms of scheme, strategy, and knowing the opponent. Cleveland was not effective inside the division at home, but outside the division, 4-1 ATS. Also, Houston did come in there last year, middle of the season. There was a 2-game window in middle of, I believe, November, where there was horrible weather in Cleveland. There was back-to-back weeks where it was wind and rain. Cleveland did lose the previous weekend out in this campaign, 16-6 to Vegas. They came in here and beat Houston 10-7. They did cover. It was only -2.5. We talk about line movement, -2.5 last year, -12.5 here. They're adjusting it for where Houston is. Of course, David Culley comes in here with a win last week in the division against Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer. That does not translate to an angry Cleveland team at home coming in here off a loss and really a game they should have won outright at Kansas City. Second play of the day, Cleveland minus 12.5. Guns picks. Talk to them.
I like actually going to Miami. Miami. We're going with the Buffalo Bills minus 3.5 on this one. Let me tell you why. If you actually watch both of those games, so Buffalo had to play the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. They actually dominated that game, except for a few blunders on the special teams, a couple defensive, going for it on 4th and 1 in the wrong spot. So it was more of a coaching error than an actual true loss for that team. I actually think the Bills dominated that game. Now they're going on the road. They're a road favorite, and they're playing a divisional opponent in the Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins against the Patriots actually dominated that game. If it wasn't for a late fumble that actually turned the game around, I didn't see anything from Tua. I didn't see anything with that offense. I think the offensive line absolutely got dominated by not a great pass rush from the Patriots. And now they're going against a Bills team with a good defense. And I think Jared Allen's going to want to show out on this game. Divisional opponent. They always play well in Miami. So I like Buffalo minus 3.5 as my second play all day long. I mean, I think they're going to absolutely smoke them today.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting points this week, there's a lot of counter narratives for either side. I actually had a difficult time capping this particular week. There's a lot of tough games to cap. You have to ask yourself a question in a lot of these spots. Are these teams going to bounce back? A couple real impressive teams from last year lost last week. Buffalo and Tennessee being another one. But I think a lot of people are ready to buy these spots. I'm personally curious. I couldn't talk you off it either way. Next one, we're going with a total. LA Rams traveling on the road to Indianapolis. I'm going over 47.5, 48. And you go back to last year yet again, a really interesting dynamic here. Of course, this is Sean McVay. This is Matthew Stafford. It's not Jared Goff, but it's a similar scheme and they're even more aggressive here. Last year in week 1, they did beat Dallas at home 20-17 in a primetime game in a lackluster scoring effort. I go back to last week. What happened? They beat down an out-of-division opponent at home in a low-scoring game in prime time. Now they go on the road outside of the division to more of an Eastern time zone. What happened in last year? Philadelphia 37-19 over. Week 3 last year at Buffalo, 35-32 over. At Washington last year, 30-point team total over. And at Tampa Bay, 27-24. I go to the other side here. Indianapolis played a really pathetic, useless game against Seattle in week 1. They should bounce back. The line's coming up. And when you go back to last year, Phillip Rivers, obviously the back end of his career arc, I don't know if you can say he was better or worse than Carson Wentz, but definitely on a similar average for me. And they did score. Their 8 team totals at home were 28, 36, 31, 34, 26, 27, 28, and one outlierish dud against Baltimore. This should come up 1 o'clock over 48. Guns.
I just want to say something about the chat. I did say Jared Allen. My apologies. I meant Josh Allen. So I sometimes you fire in on all cylinders. You do fumble your words from time to time. But I want to go talk about my third play on this one. And I actually like the under in the Pittsburgh game today. Under 47. Now you got the Raiders coming off a short week. Immaculate win at home, which with crowds in the Las Vegas stadium, which was absolutely electric for them to get that W. They scored, actually covered immaculately on that total last week. But I think Pittsburgh is going to be relying on their defense. You heard Ben Roethlisberger during his interviews. He's going to rely heavy on that defense a lot because he thinks the offense is going to be not as good, very slow going and methodical. So I think the defense is going to show out on this game, home game. And the Raiders, coming off a huge victory, getting a lot of points, going on the road, going to the East Coast, playing a 1 o'clock game. I think they're going to come out a little bit flat on this one, but I like the total and Pittsburgh controlling the line of scrimmage, time of possession, and it's going to be really low scoring here. So look for the under 47 as my third play.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't disagree with that one. My final play, 4:25 p.m., Dallas Cowboys at LA Chargers. Had LA Chargers correctly in week 1, and we also had a nice under there. I think much more indicative of the opponent type. Washington, a great defense, obviously a big-time front seven. And you come back here and you look at the other side of this. You look at what Dallas wants to do with Kellen Moore running the show. They want to pace you. They have a lot of downfield passes. CeeDee Lamb is absolute boss, and a lot of different schemes for Zeke and just moving the ball. They love to pace. They're playing a new brand of football. Kellen Moore is only 31 years old. He's a young mind, a young new upstart type of coordinator, and they want to move the ball. That's it. They're not trying to slow you down at all. And I go to a one historical stat. I rarely do it, but this is more noteworthy just for comedy's sake. Between these teams, obviously outside of the division, they only played once every 4 years. A total between these two teams has not gone over 55 points since 1980. So when they're giving you a line number at 55, books are telling you a story here that within this matchup, which again is only once every 4 years, it's going to be a totally different style of ball. And one final point, last year, the Chargers at home had some isolated overs against teams that did not defend. Jaguars and Jets. Of course, Jaguars and Jets are not the Dallas Cowboys, but defensively, they're in a similar category. And I think you're going to see a lot of points here at 425. My last play, my second total, over 54.5 in the competition, 55 in the streets of Shark Waters Nation on Gambling Twitter. Guns, last play.
So my last play here, I'm actually going to be talking about the same game that you just talked about here. I like the LA Chargers -3.5 in this spot. Listen, I think they played a little bit flat versus Washington, a little bit sloppy. I think they're going to clean that stuff up today, especially on the first home game of the season. The Cowboys, yeah, they're coming off a long week, a lot of time to prepare, especially playing that Thursday night game, heartbreaker. I think the defense for the Cowboys is kind of still in its learning phases. Micah Parsons, you saw it last week. He gets bit on a lot of play actions. He's a little bit too overly aggressive, and he can give up big plays. I like the Chargers here, especially with the wide receiver core that they have here, the running game, and I just really think they're going to show out here offensively. After that game with against Washington, I just think they're going to come out a little bit stronger on the offensive end. They probably worked on that this week, and especially against a bad defense that the Cowboys have. So give me the Chargers -3.5 as my fourth play.
We love it. Top four from the gun, top four from the shark, and we're going to the leaderboard competition. We hope you guys follow it. 32 top cappers. We bring this to you as a point of competition. We love to compete. There is a monetary prize for us, obviously not overwhelming large money, but we really want to bring you guys a showcase to who we perceive to be really sharp minds in gambling Twitter, where you can tell my picks or Guns picks, or of course the other guys in the competition, or you can tell the consensus picks if you feel like the competition has a good flow to it. The top three plays for the competition overall this week are Kansas City -4 at Baltimore. This is a revenge game for Baltimore. Baltimore got embarrassed in primetime last year against Kansas City. This is definitely a bit of a public versus sharp take. I think sharps will be on the Ravens here, just a point of reference. Buffalo -3, 8 selections. We already talked about this before. Obviously, Buffalo coming in here off of a meltdown down the stretch at home last week, traveling to Miami. Last September, Buffalo did not cover in Miami on a -3 to -5.5, 31-28, and they did clean them up in the final week of the season by 30 points at home. New England -5.5 off a loss. So the trends here seem to be, again, a little bit public, but no shade to that. The public does win. Top four cappers in the competition, other than the shark himself, Great White Jaws. Sharks like other sharks. Cleveland -12.5, full alignment for me. New England -5.5, Denver -5.5 to back up success with success on 2 straight road games on the East Coast. Will they cover? I don't know. And Kansas City -4 in prime time. Bet with the champ, Denver -5.5, a consensus there. Chicago -2.5, contrary to the shark. Houston, Cleveland over 48, which I like. I think we're going to get points there. And Dallas +3.5. Punisher picks firing in a full campaign coming back from last year. New England -5.5, Buffalo -3, Tennessee +6. Can they come back off of a really pathetic 38-13 loss in the opener? And Dallas Chargers over 54.5, alignment from me. Line Profit LLC. I have worked with him. I respect him. He's also in the lead. Cincinnati +2.5, alignment there. I feel you, my man. Philadelphia +3, Miami +3, Cleveland -12.5. It is Sharky Waters Nation. It is 7 Point Sunday. It is going down. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back on here next Sunday with J Money's Money and Lock Bets, September 19th, 2021. Let's dominate this day. Guns, close them out.
Hey, I just want to shout out the Cappers Collect for this contest. Thank you very much. This show is powered by them. If you want to go check out their newsletter, please do so at Cappers Collect. You can see it scrolling here on the bottom if you want to go check them out. Great newsletter for the pros versus the Joes if you want to go read that up. It's very sharp information for your betting needs. But I want to shout out everybody here. This is going to be a weekly broadcast, and just good luck with all your bets today, whatever they may be. And as always, we should just keep dancing. Am I right?